For 100 years, the Champlain Valley Exposition, located in the heart of Chittenden County, remains a focal point for economic activity, events, community gatherings, and excitement. Every year, CVE hosts dozens of events that touch every fabric of Vermont's culture, ranging from the Vermont Farm Show, Circus Smirkus, Girls on the Run, and the iconic Champlain Valley Fair.
When people think of the expo, they think of the fair, the best days of summer, but it is so much more than that.
It's about gatherings that happen here pretty much every weekend or every day of the week. Soccer tournaments, you've got flea markets, you've got horse shows, you've got just a place where people can gather in an open space.
Whether it's a foot race, whether it's a fundraiser, whether it's a memorial service. This is where large groups can congregate. We have no other place in the area like the CVE.
The Champlain Valley Exposition, often referred to as the fairgrounds, is an agricultural nonprofit 501c3 with 130 acres and nearly 100,000 square feet of indoor space. CVE is coined Vermont's premier event center. It proves year over year not only to be a host of dozens of events and gatherings, but it's a huge economic driver for the region.
Well, what occurs here is something that doesn't occur anywhere else. We love our open spaces and we love our mountains, and trust me, I celebrate that as much as anybody else. But there's nothing like this. This is all we have in the state of Vermont when it comes to a property.
As a community, we're missing a convention center, and we're missing sort of that large venue space where people can convene together if it's for a concert or a festival or an event. And the Champlain Valley Expo brings that together in what's an unconventional space, but what that's good for is all sorts of events.
You can't have a horse show just anywhere. You've got to have the venue for it. And this venue is ideal. It's got the barns, it's got the ring, it's got everything we need here, and we wouldn't be able to have them without that opportunity.
They've got a great venue. For us, it works particularly for our indoor events, but even for a number of our outdoor events.
Not only does the Champlain Valley Exposition host events, but it is the home of two large soccer programs.
Love it here. You know, what we're able to offer our kids in the space that we've got and with the quality of the surface that we have, it's an additional plus for our kids that they might not get with other programs.
But like so much around us, the excitement and anticipation of entertainment, arts, crafts, concerts, food, and rides all came to a crashing halt on March 24th, 2020.
I need you to stay home. Doing so will save lives. It's just that simple.
Governor Phil Scott's stay-at-home order was a shock to the system, but a necessary one as the world began to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic. Vermont's government agencies and communities around the state began the daunting task of figuring out how to navigate, prepare, and protect.
I was in my office thinking, oh my, where are we going to be able to do this? And not surprisingly, I thought, what about the fairgrounds?
Within 24 hours of receiving the call, the UVM Medical Center had sent a team to the Champlain Valley Exposition to scope out and begin constructing a drive-thru testing site where roughly 13,000 tests were conducted over the next 6 months, helping the state epidemiologists monitor the region for COVID outbreaks.
The fairgrounds stepped up and did that for us and said, we're not able to use our facilities, property, for obvious reasons, and let's think creatively about a way that we can benefit the community and that we can benefit the health of Vermonters. And, I think we've seen through this experience some unusual partnerships happening all over the place, but this is a fine example of one of the best ones.
Soon after setting up the testing site, the state of Vermont reached out to see if they could use the expo for what could be called a surge site, a new job.
It was about a couple of days between the first order to start the concept design and the kind of a layout for it, all the way to getting initial planning, mobilization, and everybody in place along with materials to start the construction and start the transformation of the Expo Center into the 400-bed hospital.
Like the UVM Medical Center testing site, choosing the Champlain Valley Exposition for the surge site was an easy decision for the state and the Guard.
The characteristics of the Expo site were ideal because it had a lot of the existing facilities that we needed that were going to make the project a success and also minimize the build out so we can get the hospital up and running as soon as possible. We were hoping to build something that we never needed, but we want to make sure it was ready for the state of Vermont.
Building a hospital over what was essentially one weekend took a lot of coordination among different agencies and were supplemented by the CVE staff.
We were very fortunate for the teamwork and for the joint environment that we created really quickly to get the 400 beds turned over to medical in about 5 days.
From the medical testing to the surge site, CVE remained eager to do what they could do to help and support the community, including opening their doors for more joyous occasions, including high school graduations.
My first initial emotions were like, oh my God, how lucky are we to have a graduation, you know? Like, that's crazy to think that we would even have something like that at such a large volume, but they did it so successfully, and it's really cool.
From what I could tell, certainly the Essex High School graduation, I had nothing but favorable, positive comments in terms of face-to-face, emails, waves as people exited that day. Everything was positive. So that's tribute to the fact that the kids got a good send-off and a pretty surreal end of their senior year, to say the least.
While the Champlain Valley Expo was willing and able to help others navigate through tough times, Governor Scott's announcement that fairs and field days wouldn't occur in 2020 forced a new reality. For the first time in its 99-year history, the Champlain Valley Fair was canceled.
To tell my 8-year-old daughter that she couldn't come to the fair this year was a very long day of how I was going to approach that. We have so many good memories of coming here as a family, and it was a huge missing this year. And I still have this odd feeling that it didn't happen this year, and I still think it's going to happen tomorrow.
At this point in time, there's no guarantee that the 2021 fair can occur. The priority of CVE is the safety of our fairgoers, our volunteers, and our staff. When the Champlain Valley Fair does come back, we need to make sure it's with the same high-quality entertainment, energy, and excitement that fairgoers are accustomed to, but we're also following the guidelines outlined by the state as it relates to COVID-19.
WOKO relies on the Champlain Valley Fair to come out and see our listeners. Right now, we're doing Facebook Lives during COVID-19 because we can't get out and see our listeners. This is an opportunity for us to see people that sometimes, in a lot of cases, we only see one time a year. It's an opportunity for them to come up and say hi to us. It's an opportunity for us to say hi to them. But little things that the exposition did, like the Taste of the Fair, really made a huge difference.
In an attempt to provide a little relief for the community, the Champlain Valley Exposition held 3 Taste of Fair events and partnered with Higher Ground, hosting over 30 drive-in concerts and shows.
There were no rides, there were no animals, but there was some great food with the 3 Taste of the Fair events that provide a little nostalgia of the Champlain Valley Fair. And we held 30 concerts with Higher Ground that provided a little bit of normalcy to a community that is really desperate for it.
With the forced cancellation of the majority events planned for 2020, the impact was felt not only for attendees, but local businesses, vendors, and food concessionaires.
Well, that's 60 or 70 small mom and pop businesses that survive because we give them a venue at your venue. If that goes away, you know, that impact just trickles down.
I think that might be one of the biggest things is that you guys bring. You know, it's what the community doesn't realize until it's not there.
When we put on concerts here together, I have friends and people in the industry that reach out to me from all corners that want to come up here and hang out. And what do? They come up to a concert, they go out to eat, they go hang out in Burlington. It captures probably more than we realize what it means to just come here for an afternoon or for an evening. It translates into much more than that.
We know the Champlain Valley Exposition plays an important role to the community, and we need to do all we can to make sure that the educational, cultural, and agricultural events that normally occur here can come back.
Without the Champlain Valley Exposition, I really don't think we could exist. Our very existence depends on being indoors, being able to do a large production with a pretty big footprint, and there's very, very few venues that can accommodate our type of show.
I'm not sure where people would go if the fairgrounds wasn't here, if you had to shrink your footprint, or God forbid you ever had to sell. And that's why it's important that people understand the social impact and the economic impact, and the two of them go hand in hand. They're inextricably woven in the fabric of our community.
Street Rod Group would be without a home if the Champlain Valley Exposition ceased to exist. Simply, we wouldn't have the capacity to host them here in the community. This is the only place that's been able to do it with the hotel rooms nearby, as well as the infrastructure to host over 3,500 people in one place, one venue.
The Champlain Valley Exposition is not immune. Nobody is immune to the situation. Like so many organizations across the globe, we're taking a hard look at our operations to make sure that we can survive. And unfortunately, that has meant staff furloughs. We've delayed really important capital improvements, and we're now reassessing our willingness to take risk.
No one can say for certain what the near future will look like, or even how CVE will be operating in 2021. Large gatherings can occur again. Look to the Champlain Valley Exposition as the epicenter of entertainment, culture, agriculture, and economic activity. Make no mistake, the Champlain Valley Exposition must survive and be a pillar for the region and the state of Vermont.